Hello, everyone, and welcome to season 3, episode 17 of the Big at the Back podcast. And we're back after a brief hiatus. I'm Tom. I'm joined once again by the effervescent Matthew Higgins. Matt, how are you?
Oh, I'm not effervescent. No one has ever described me as effervescent before, but I'll take it. So I'm not bad. We're here. The time has come. It's basically festive football season now, so it's going to be coming thick and fast, just like me. What a start! So yeah,
Oh,
I think that
cancel the
tells you what kind of
show.
mood I'm
We're
in.
done.
I'm not. I haven't even had a beer today. So yeah, how are you, Tom?
I'm good. Like everything's going well. I've got an event in London tomorrow with my company, so I've got to get a 6:21 a.m. train, which is going to be super fun. But that aside, I'm feeling positive. FPL is going well. Football is here. There's no more international breaks till like March. Like, what's not to love? We've got games all the time, and this is where my decline starts every season. So, and I've got much further to fall this season than I normally do. So I'm looking forward to seeing it happen.
You're like Spurs, who are like Christmas. You come down with the decorations in January, but you just do it a little bit earlier.
Do you remember maybe 5 weeks ago I told you I didn't think Spurs would finish top 4, and you called me crazy and biased? How are we looking
In
now, mate?
my defence, they have had like an injury and suspension crisis since then.
I mean, not as much as other clubs. Like, look at Newcastle, look at Arsenal, arguably. Like, Spurs haven't had it work the worst.
No, maybe not the worst. I did feel particularly sorry for Bentancur though, who, having come back from an ACL injury, gets snapped by Matty Cash after about 30 minutes of his first start. So yeah.
I'll tell you what, if that wasn't an excuse to rage transfer out Matty Cash, if the 0 points again wasn't enough of an excuse to get rid, now is the time to do so. If you still have Matty Cash in FPL, get him out, get him gone. We can come on to Aston Villa in a little bit because they've got a really tricky run of fixtures coming up and what to do with their assets. But before we do, talk me through, how was your last game week? Game week 13, how did you get on?
Not very well, but I think it was one of those weeks where I sort of came out almost unscathed as to how bad it could have been.
What are you
Um,
talking about? You got... Oh no, I'm looking at our joint team. Never mind.
so yeah, I got 44 points and took a 4 point hit. I basically had to take the 4 point hit to basically field a side. Although with Tarek Lamptey actually playing in the end, I ended up with 12 players playing, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, so I brought in Mitchell, who got me 1 point. Brought in Bamo, who got me 2 points, and I brought in Cole Palmer, who got me 2 points. So very successful 3 transfers there. But yeah, there wasn't really much around this week. Saka was actually my top scorer in the end with 8. I don't even really know how we got 8 points in an Arsenal side that were very shaky at best. I think the only thing really I got right this week was the captaincy choice of Haaland. But even then, it wasn't really a big upside over the other potential captaincy choices, which I'm sure you'll talk about in a minute. So yeah, overall, not the best week. 800,000 in the world now, so it's still not as bad as it was.
Yeah, fair enough. So I got 50 points, so 4 points above average. I had Son as my captain, so he got 2 double to 4. Really, really bad captaincy choice, but it was a risk. And we'll talk about the Villa Spurs game because it was a fascinating game of football, super end to end. But Son on another day could have legitimately had 4 or 5 goals. So I don't think it was a bad decision. It just didn't quite pay off. I'm fine, move on, and it hasn't killed me. Neither Haaland nor Salah went mental. Big star on my team was Diogo Dalot, though. I think I've had him and started him now for 4 game weeks so far this season, in which he's got a 14, a 6, a 2, and a 12. So he is the hero of my FPL team currently. So I'm very, very happy with Diogo Dalot at the moment. So yeah, Dalot with 12 points, Saka with 8, Haaland with 7, Watkins with 5, Salah with 5. So a pretty kind of average and mediocre week, but Dalot putting it through again and really, really showing why he's worth the extra money over, say, Maguire or Lindelof.
I just want to mention Dallo with the luckiest assist in FPL history, with a cross
Take
that
it.
was terrible, but rescued by goal of the season from Alejandro Garnacho. So yeah, take your 12 points. I hope you're happy. What a sad little life you live.
Any assist in FPL nowadays is jammy, and we've got to accept this. Often, it's times if you just pass to a player and then he shoots from distance, puts it in the top corner, you get the assist points. Salah is mercurial at doing it, but most assists in FPL are kind of bullshit. So you've got to take them when they come to you and laugh when they don't.
Yeah, it was like the season for Liverpool when someone would pass to Suarez, he would run a past about four people, shoot, score, and then whoever laid the initial pass, like maybe Jordan Henderson or something, was racking up assists.
What a season that was! That was great. We can touch on some of the games because there were some really interesting FPL games, but we're going to speak about them with a mind to game week 14 and beyond because we're in a festive season. Games are going to start coming thick and fast.
No comment.
So let's go over some of the games and say what we're thinking about some of the key assets. And we might as well start with the Spurs Aston Villa match. So it ended 2-1 to Aston Villa. And I'm going to say it, Unai Emery, such a better manager than Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, and a manager that has never lost to Spurs in the Premier League. In obviously his spell in charge of Arsenal when he was seen as potentially a bit of a banter manager, but also now in his second spell in the Premier League at Villa, where he's been, yeah, incredible. To be fair, similarly to Ange, has his style of football and he sticks to it and he's principled in that. But obviously he's pulling it off probably quite a bit better at the moment. And that high line paid dividends, getting Son offside multiple times, much to your chagrin. But yeah, it's just the only surprise is this game only finished 2-1. Like each side could have scored like 4 or 5.
Watkins should have had quite a few. Son should have had about 10. Douglas Luiz continuing to do well in FPL. So if you've got Douglas Luiz, you're not getting red because another 7 points from him, and he seems to be performing week in, week out, despite the fact that as a central midfielder, he really shouldn't be.
Yeah, you don't get many of those central midfielders that just constantly churn out points. Obviously, it helps that he's on set pieces. So he's obviously, it was the free kick on Sunday that got him the assist. He's obviously on pens as well, which is a huge bonus. So yeah, he is someone that you're not even necessarily ever looking at and going, I need to get him in. But if you've got him in, he's just constantly picking up points for you, and it's a no-brainer that you're keeping him.
If you've got a Matty Cash or a Diaby for Aston Villa, and we'll come to Spurs in a minute, but if you've got a Cash or a Diaby, I think you're selling both, right? Cash is probably the priority sell, though.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just looking back at the weekend, like there were two teams that kept clean sheets this weekend, and they were Arsenal and Man United. So defenders, unless they're getting you attacking returns, they're just not worth it at the moment. And Cash is certainly not doing that. He came off at half time, having already picked up a yellow card. And I mean, I don't know what Villa's depth is like in the fullback areas, but it wouldn't surprise me if they pull someone else into the starting 11.
And you get the sense with Matty Cash, he's not quite good enough at attacking to be a forward. He's not quite good enough at defending to be a defender. So where does he fit into that Villa side? So yeah,
Just do what Liverpool did with Trent and stick him in central midfield.
I mean, no comment. I know that's base. I'm not going to go there. Let's
Almost.
move on to Tottenham then. Assist for Pedro Porro. I think he was popping up everywhere on corners, on free kicks. Pedro Porro, for me, is probably a hold. Everyone else is a sell.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, people will probably try and hold on to Son still, but obviously, just with the way their squad's been decimated at the moment, it's really hard to know where to begin. I know they've got players coming back from suspension now, so Romero obviously coming back, so they might get a little bit more tight at the back. But I mean, it's Romero, so you never know what you're going to get there. Lovely. I mean, a good goal from Lo Celso, but he's not going to be in that starting lineup for long when people start coming back. and it did take a deflection. So yeah, but Porro is probably the only one that's worth looking at. A couple of those balls in behind as well that Son was running onto. So you can easily see a world where he can pick up an assist or two.
Spurs, ever since Jamie O'Hara went on Sky Sports and said Spurs are title contenders, Spurs can win the league, they've lost every single game, 3 in a row.
That's impressive, that. And just shows you all you need to know about Jamie O'Hara's ability as a pundit.
It does indeed. On an FPL standpoint, yeah, Son is a really interesting one because there is a world where he can score against Manchester City. I'm not convinced. I think City are too good for Spurs in general, because while Spurs are going to be combative, I don't think they're going to be able to get the ball forward to Son in those spaces enough. So for me, I just can't see it. And then after that, Spurs have West Ham at home, then Newcastle at home, Newcastle being a really, really tough game. For me, there's nothing. If Son was 8.5 million, I'd say keep him. But at 9.5, I'm not convinced. So for me, I'd probably be looking to free up the funds.
Yeah, that's probably a fair enough assessment. The thing is, I know it's, as you say, it's City next, but they never keep clean sheets. So,
but you can just see it won't be Son that gets the goal. It will be someone like who is that weird central mid that Brian
Gill.
Brian Gill. Yeah, it'll be someone like him that gets the goal, or like an Emerson Royale goal or something. It won't be a human Son. So yeah, I'm not convinced. Should we talk about Manchester United? Because we touched on them. They're one of the only teams to keep a clean sheet. Now, Everton were riled up for this game. The fans created an atmosphere around Goodison. They made it a cauldron, and then 2 minutes in, Garnacho kills it.
I mean, what can you really say that hasn't already been said about the goal? It was obviously fantastic, and it obviously sort of killed the mood around the stadium a little bit. I think it was described on the Totally Football show, which I was listening to earlier today, as a WhatsApp group uniter, when everyone is sending in like one words like wow, wallop, bang, strike, things like that. And it was, to be fair, I was actually in the cinema when it happened, and when I came out and checked my phone, I just saw like these strings of messages about it and had to go and find it on Twitter. But I mean, yeah, fantastic goal. Dalot with a lucky assist. And United are the form team in the league. Like, you can caveat it any way you want with who they've played and who they haven't played, but they've done it with a central defensive pairing of Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans. So you've got to give them some credit.
Hold that thought. Because yes, they are the form team in the league. Yes, they kept a clean sheet. Yes, they won this game 3-0. They conceded 3xG to Everton. Even though they won 3-0, it was a very unconvincing win. And if Everton had half the finishing ability of a Bournemouth, this would have been 4-3 to Everton. So, again, really unconvincing. Also, if you're a Bruno Fernandes owner and you're seeing him pick the ball up and pass it to Rashford for the penalty, you must be livid, right? We had Bruno Fernandes captain for this game.
Fuming,
weird and captains.
Yeah, only because we forgot to make transfers again.
Still better than you or I.
Yeah, I know, which is disgusting. It makes you sick, doesn't it? But yeah, I think, like I say, you can caveat it any way you want, but they are the form team in the league. They've won 5 of their last 6. They've kept 4 clean sheets in that time. So, like, that is form that you have to consider at some point.
You're saying we have to consider it. The next game, they go away to Newcastle, and I think they get absolutely walloped in that game. I think Newcastle are going to be fuming with what happened in the Champions League. They're going to be right up for it. I think Man United get absolutely torn to bits, and I can see that being 3-0 Newcastle. Then the game after that is Chelsea at home. Who bloody knows what you're going to get in that match? Then you've got Bournemouth at home, fair enough. Then it's Liverpool away, West Ham away, Aston Villa. They're not, I would say they're a mixed bag for Manchester United in terms of fixtures. So I wouldn't be looking to buy anyone from there at the moment. Maybe Maguire because he's so cheap, but I'm not super convinced on Maguire. So I'm not super convinced on Man United, full stop, actually.
Yeah, I know neither am I. Don't get me wrong. I think Maguire has proven to be a bit of a bargain over the last 4 or 5 weeks, but I can't see that streak necessarily continuing. Like I say, the next two games, like you say, sorry, the next two games are very difficult. So you're probably not in a rush to bring anyone in now. You've probably missed the boat, if anything.
Yeah, I would say so. Shall we talk about Liverpool 1, Manchester City 1 then? It's the kind of game Manchester City probably should have won, but just that Trent goal was absolutely awesome. So a bit of magic by Trent to get the goal, made it 1-1. But in general, both teams playing really, really well, and you could tell it was two of the top teams going at each other. Let's go Manchester City first, because I want to give a bit of a rant around Doku. Now, Doku, no attacking returns, picked up 3 bonus points. So you look at why did he pick up those bonus points? The main reason is because he had loads of take-ons of his defender Trent and had them as winning take-ons. So I think there were 7 in the game. However, if you actually watch the game, every time Doku attacked Trent, Trent saw him inside and didn't let him go around the outside. And that was done by design, tactically, intentionally, so that Doku could go in. And once Doku went inside, he was useless. He was completely ineffective. So he had to just pass the ball backwards. So yes, it counted as Doku beating Trent, but no, it doesn't count as, like, it's not a repeatable thing. It was a tactical thing by Liverpool that they executed very, very well. And I think very, very lucky to get the 3 bonus points. I think it's very clear everyone needs to sell Alvarez now.
Yeah, I think that's probably the move for me this week. Although then he goes and scores in the Champions League in midweek, which is obviously a point of frustration, and he probably will end up scoring again this weekend. Now that we're all looking to shift him on, but I think it's just frustrating, isn't it? Because he had that good run earlier in the season, and you always feel like if a City asset is getting consistent minutes, they're always a chance of getting a decent return. But if you look back at however many weeks, like the last 5 or so games, he's had 1 attacking returns out of their 14, 15 goals. So that sort of says it all.
He's been the last 14 goals he's been on the pitch for. He's got 1 assist, and that was against Chelsea.
Yeah, so there you go. I think that screams that it's probably time to move him on, but be prepared for his inevitable haul as soon as you do.
Yeah, I think Grealish coming back into the team really helps Alvarez as well. So I think it's time to sell though, especially with the blanking game week 18 that they have coming up. Haaland is Haaland. He's going to be my captain this week. Spoiler alert, they're playing Tottenham, who still don't have a defence. So I think Haaland as captain just makes complete sense to me. And don't get me wrong, Salah at home, Salah will return, but I'm just banking on Haaland doing more.
Yeah, I think I always think it's more fun when you have the captain in the very last game of the weekend. So City Spurs is the 4:30 kickoff on Sunday afternoon. So it just feels like, I don't know, something really to sink your teeth into as you sit down on a Sunday afternoon. I just like it. It's more fun that way. Whereas the Liverpool game isn't even on TV, so we can't even watch it, Tom.
Well, that TV schedule is so stupid because Chelsea-Brighton, that's a mouth-watering game. But instead they're having West Ham Crystal Palace, which is just, you look at that and think, God, that's boring.
I'm very happy about it, to be honest with you.
Oh, no comment. Let's move on to the next picture. Why don't we touch on Chelsea and Newcastle? Because we've spoken about both a little bit. Newcastle 4, Chelsea 1. I didn't see this coming. I thought Chelsea and don't get me wrong, the manner of which they got them both was questionable, but a win and a draw against Spurs and City, you've got to think Chelsea are coming into this game on a high. They're feeling really good. 4 points from those 2 really tough fixtures. They've got to be thinking positively. And then Newcastle absolutely put them to the sword. 4-1 should have been about 6-1, to be honest. Alexander Isak and Anthony Gordon, talk to me about how they are going to be essential assets over the next few weeks.
I think that's pretty much unquestionable. It pains me to say, because as your very aware. I can't stand Anthony Gordon. Just look at him. You look at him and you think you are not a professional footballer. He just looks weedy and like he can be blown over by a strong gust of wind.
Really
But
good
here
on the
he is.
ball.
Yeah, he is. He's good on the ball. He protects it well, and obviously he's making things happen. He was obviously helped by Chelsea shooting themselves in the foot at every possible opportunity on Saturday afternoon. But you've got to still make those chances count. But yeah, Isak looks like he's back to full fitness and sharpness. So if he can stay fit over this festive period, which is a big if for him, because we've seen since he's joined the Premier League, he is quite injury prone, and when you get fixtures piling up. It would be different if Wilson was fit as well, because they could probably interchange and play more games. They've still got Champions League football coming now as well, so it is really tough for him. So it's hard to invest in him, knowing what we know. But I'm ready to be hurt.
I will also say Kieran Trippier, while he didn't pick up the points this week, had 16 crosses into the box this week. Now that the second player, I think it was I can't remember off the top of my head, but Trippier was first with 16. The second top was like 9. So he is still heavily involved in the attack, getting balls in. He's still there, primed to be picking up points. He got the yellow, which knocked him out of the bonus points this week. But yeah, I'm really comfortable holding Trippier for this run of fixtures that they have.
Yeah, I think you're definitely not getting rid of him now, are you? The form that he's in at the moment, the form that Newcastle are in, on set pieces, creating chances for fun. They missed a couple of opportunities that would have been Trippier assists. He hit the bar. So yeah, there's no reason to get rid of him at all. But speaking of English fullbacks, what about Reece James?
You know what? I think they said it on the Always Cheating podcast, and I agree. Reece James has never been a good footballer or a good FPL asset outside of one 4-game streak 2 years ago, because he's been shite for the rest of his life. That 4-week streak 2 years ago was Reece James in all of his glory. That aside, shite.
What a streak it was, though.
Oh, what a streak it was.
I don't know. I can't really argue with it, but at the same time, it's like, I want to do it again at some point. Not anytime soon, but there'll be one game where he looks all right, and then you see Chelsea have got like a 4 or 5 game run where like they're all green and they've got Luton at home, and I think they've already played Luton at home.
Game
But
16, they have Everton away, Sheffield United at home, Wolves away, Crystal Palace at home, Luton away. Oh, that's a 5-game streak.
So you telling me that doesn't sound sexual?
It does, but he's not the Chelsea asset I want. So I actually have already gone to move in Raheem Sterling, because I think that 2 games before that are Brighton at home. Brighton are not going to keep a clean sheet for the whole Premier League season. And it's Manchester United away. And Manchester United are going to be down after getting bumped at Newcastle. So I'm quite happy investing in Raheem Sterling or Cole Palmer now. I think Sterling is more appealing because I think Cole Palmer does lose his place to Nkunku when he comes back. And also, Palmer's on penalties, yes. But Sterling's the one getting forward, looking lively. Palmer's normally the one creating for him. So I just think Sterling has more long-term potential and more upside as well.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know if Palmer gets dropped. I just think he looks so good in that role at the moment. I don't think he loses his place anytime soon. I'll probably be proven wrong, but he's arguably been their best signing this season and potentially their best player overall. I think he stays.
Their new captain, Reece James.
Yeah, true. And Kukurea as well. He's been fantastic.
After Reece James spent an entire summer like campaigning to on social media to be made captain, they gave it to him. Then he did exactly what he always does. The ego on that guy is phenomenal for someone who has only been good at football for 4 weeks.
so harsh, but
it's true.
Who are we to say people aren't good at football? And again, you don't have to be a chef to know shit food, do you?
Exactly. But yeah, because of the run they've got, I really like their attacking options. Palmer is a really, really good cheap enabler. You're looking at, he's in the kind of price bracket of Gordon or Hwang, and Sterling, I think, for 7 million could be a real coup.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And that free kick was lovely at the weekend. But then the next one they got, he gave to Reece James. So I'm not really sure what happened there. He's like, right, I'm done now. Like, I've won and done. Thank you very much.
Reece James is gone. We don't need to worry about him. He's gone from our hearts, gone from our minds, gone from our fixture list. We don't need to worry about Reece James anymore. And also,
For
when
now.
Reece James got that, when he got that second yellow, they were both like stupid second yellows to get. And there was no like fight or emotion or anger. He just kind of shrugged and was like, okay, then I'm off. Like, from your captain, when you're losing a game to get sent off, like, show some fight, show some emotion. There's just no fire in him.
It's like he was just resigned to it at that point, wasn't he? He was like, oh yeah, I might as well, I'm done. So, and it was so stupid. Like, he and Sterling were both booked for kicking the ball away. You should know by this point that is what's going to happen. And then to give the ball away in the first instance, trying to turn back to your goal, and then losing it and just putting him back, it was so stupid. But that sort of brings me on to my next point of stupid cards.
Hold on. I think we did actually skip talking about Liverpool.
Oh, I don't care about
them. I mean, you have to care about them with their fixtures coming up, because if you look at Liverpool games, it's Fulham, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, and then Man U.
So are you getting Darwin in? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not opposed. No, I have grown to love Ollie Watkins. I feel like I'm just going to own Ollie Watkins the whole season. I'm not going to move him out for Bournemouth. But I wouldn't hate getting Darwin, or even looking, if you've got a bid in the bank, say you haven't got a Son, going for a Trent Alexander-Arnold for the next 3 games and then moving him out for Trippier wouldn't be a terrible shout at all, because against Fulham, against Sheffield United, who have conceded the most goals in the Premier League this season, and against Crystal Palace, I think there is real opportunity there for both clean sheets and attacking returns.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably right. I mean, obviously it is the cost with Trent and whether you can afford to get him in. So that's the real worry. I personally would have to like move the funds around quite a bit, so it's probably not worth it for me. But like you say, if you've got like a Trippier, you could potentially look to do it for those 3 games. But I don't think it's necessarily the best move. It feels like a sideways move, if anything.
Well, Trippier in Man U, Everton and Tottenham being away, or Trent in Fulham, Sheffield United and Crystal Palace away, Palace and Sheffield United away, you'd probably say Trent's going to get more points, but then is it worth eating the price drop on, or the value drop on Trippier? Like, I don't know. It's not enough for me.
No, I think I'm in agreement with you, to be fair, but you never know. Anyway, back to my previous point.
Oh, go on then. Go on.
Fuck Liverpool. Don't care about Liverpool. The topic of stupid cards. I want to talk about Lewis Dunk. Being the first player in 12 years to get a red card for dissent. What a geezer!
What a guy! Also worth noting, Brighton without Lewis Dunk against next game with Chelsea. Bring in Raheem Sterling now, everyone. Bring in Nicholas Jackson now. Like, let's go all in on Chelsea again.
Triple Chelsea.
Brighton aren't going to keep a clean sheet in the Premier League. I've resigned to it now. That it's just with 13 games. You know what? They're playing Burnley in game week 16
at home.
They're playing Luton away in game week 22 and Palace away in game week 23. If they don't have a clean sheet by then, they ain't getting one.
Yeah, and I think Luton away Luton are kind of proving that they're not a terrible side, as much as we would like to think that they are.
They're the best for most of the teams, I think. I mean, I said this on our group chat earlier on in the season, like, don't rule Luton out. At the same point last season, we were saying Forest and Bournemouth were dead and buried. And you know what? Burnley and Sheffield United, one of them could turn it around. You never know.
I feel like Sheffield United have more, like they have a bit of potential in them. Their fixture list hasn't been the kindest so far, and they have sort of put in a couple of better performances recently. But then they sort of threw it away at the weekend against Bournemouth with an absolutely shambolic showing. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about them, but Burnley are obviously the ones that are the real concern. Sitting bottom.
No. They've got a really, really nice fixture run, which doesn't really matter in FPL because it's Burnley and you're not investing. But hear me out here. Here's what's going to happen. Vincent Company in the January transfer window is going to go out and re-sign Max Cornet for Burnley, who's going to inspire them to getting out of that bottom three and leaving Everton, Sheffield United, and Luton to get relegated.
I don't know if I agree with you, but fair enough for going out. And
I'm wearing Burnley claret today, Matt. I've got it in my heart.
But yeah, no, I can't see it happening myself. Just to sort of round off on the Brighton point, they have scored and conceded in their last 17 Premier League games.
Fantastic, isn't it? Problem with Brighton, they've got too many fixtures. I'm not interested. They've got too many fixtures, too small a squad, and they are leaking goals. Even going forward, like Mitoma's out, March is out. Like there's no one there that really inspires me to move.
João Pedro though scored 2 at the weekend.
Yeah, even then he's probably going to lose his place or be benched in the next match. So I'm just not there. I can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you, but I'm ready. I'm ready to be like feel the pain every time. And it's like that player that we all had early in the season, and now he's starting. Whenever you see them get a return, you're like, "Fuck! I should have kept him." But you made the right decision, really.
Yeah. Areola's driving me nuts.
Yeah, I feel your pain.
3 points, no clean sheets since I brought him in my wild card in like game week 7, 6, or whatever it was, and just 2 or 3 points every week playing Burnley, and they conceded a goal. I know I just waxed lyrical about them, but that's only after they signed Max Cornet. But Areola's just driving me bananas. He made 4 saves this game. How have Burnley got 5 shots away against West Ham? Like, it begs belief. So I am really, really looking to upgrade my goalkeeper. I'm almost certainly going to do it next week to David Raya. So I've kept money in the bank to turn Turner into David Raya next week rather than take the -4 and do it this week. But if Areola plays terribly tomorrow, I might just take the 4-point hit.
Areola won't play tomorrow. Fabianski is the cup keeper, so you haven't got to worry about that one. But it is worth saying, I think the quality of their chances overall weren't great. It was only a penalty that obviously did for him in the end. So it was sort of let down by us giving away a penalty. Overall, but the thing is that you look at our run of fixtures coming up. Palace at home, potential for a clean sheet there, maybe, with Eze obviously being out again now by the looks of it. But Elise's coming back and looked great, and what a goal he scored at the weekend. It's Spurs, we got Fulham, Wolves coming up, so there is potential for clean sheets there, but I wouldn't bank on it.
No, nor would I, and I'm going to be moving him out. Arsenal Brentford, I moved Mbeumo in early. Again, unlucky. He could have and should have probably been on the score sheet. He's a lot for me. He's not going anywhere for Brentford's run of fixtures. They've got Luton, Brighton, Sheffield United, and Aston Villa in the next 4 before the blank. And after the blank, they've got Wolves and Crystal Palace. I'm going to hold Mbeumo through the blank, and I'm just going to ride it out. And Mbeumo, for me, is a mortal lock in my FPL team right now.
Yeah, same for me. Like I say, he was unlucky. Aaron Ramsdale tried his best to gift him a goal, but he was rescued by Declan Rice on the line. So yeah, and like you say, that run of fixtures coming up at the moment, the form that he's in, it's just undeniable that he is someone that you should be looking to get in if you haven't got him in already, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely. I do want a piece of the Arsenal defence as well. So I'm looking at David Raya because I know Ramsdale started this match, but that's because Brentford are Raya's parent club, so he couldn't have played in the match. And after the game, Arteta's interview, he was all happy, talking about the 1-0 win, and he was asked about Ramsdale's performance, and Arteta's response was, well, the defence around him played really well and really protected him and did really well. And he just refused to say a single positive word about Aaron Ramsdale. Something's happened there. Arteta hates Ramsdale now for whatever reason, which means Raya is the clear first choice. He's top of my want list and top of my wish list at the moment in FPL. So I'm almost certainly going to be bringing in David Raya next week.
I think it's safe to say that Raya is locked in as number one now, and it's rare that you can say that the best thing that has happened to Raya this season to cement his number one spot is him not playing in a game. But Ramsdale has completely shot himself in the foot. If he came in and had a stormer, did everything perfectly, then it might have given Arteta a bit more of a headache. But obviously, that is certainly not the case. I wouldn't necessarily agree with you that I think he's a great signing. But no one's keeping clean sheets, so you might as well take a punt on someone.
Well, Arsenal, I feel like they're looking solid and they're looking good. And you've just got to think that defence in front of him, Saliba and Gabriel, excellent. Zinchenko's back as a left-back spot, who is a great FPL option now, by the way. And Tomiyasu's playing really, really well on the right. Then in front of them, you've got Declan Rice, you've got Thomas Partey to come back. I just think the spine of that team is very good. And where they're not looking as good going forward, thank you, Saka, for the assist, for the 3 points as well. But while they're not looking that good going forward, they're looking great defensively. So I really want a piece of this Arsenal defence right now. Again, I'm not too concerned about bringing him in this week, but from next week onwards, yeah, I'll probably be bringing him in.
What about Kai Havertz?
Is Kai Havertz worth the 60 million?
No.
What's he worth? Because there's something to be said for a guy that plays left back for Germany but played striker all of last season.
Yeah, there's something to be said. Whether it's any good or not is a completely different matter.
Jack of all trades, master of none. He can play every position except goalkeeper, but he can't play any of them well.
He might be a goalkeeper. Maybe that's what we've been missing the whole time.
I mean, Andy Carroll should always have been a centre back. I'm just saying.
Oh God.
I know we've got other games, but I'm not that bothered about talking about Sheffield United 1, Bournemouth 3, or about Luton beating Crystal Palace 2-1, or even about Fulham beating Wolves 3-2, because I'll just talk about refs and VAR the whole time.
Yep.
Graceful. But what's your team going to be looking like for next week?
So, currently the starting 11 is maybe that Areola in goal. I only have 3 fit defenders at the moment by the looks of it in Soufal, Tsimikas and Mitchell. So I'm really hoping for a West Ham Palace 0-0 because that will be 3 clean sheets there. But I mean, I'd take a West Ham win to 0, don't get me wrong. Then a midfield 5 of Salah, Bowen, Saka, Bamo, Palmer, and Watkins and Haaland up front, which leaves me Alvarez on the bench with Kabore and Lamptey. It looks like Kabore and Lamptey are both injured. So, but then my current plan is to potentially... I have just enough with 0.1 to spare to go Alvarez to Isak.
Darwin. Go Darwin.
No.
I love the Isak move. He's going to be one of the most important players over the next few weeks, particularly game week 18. Newcastle have great fixtures ahead of them, and game week 18, Newcastle are away at Luton. That Isak could have a stormer in that game. So I love the Isak pick, and I think with that in mind, you should definitely go Darwin Nunez because chaos, fun.
Yeah, thankfully, Isak's got through his Champions League match unscathed now, so I could potentially do it now. But I'll keep an eye on potential rises and falls in terms of prices, and I might wait it out. Well, what about you?
I'm just double checking the price changes at the moment. So if I look up Isak, yeah, he's not going to change, and Alvarez is going to drop tonight. Julian Alvarez is going to drop tonight.
Well, then that would leave me the exact amount of money I need. But maybe I'll just take the plunge now.
I was going to say, like, Isaac's already played. He wasn't injured. I would take the plunge if I were you. So my team for next week, I've already made my 2 transfers because they don't have midweek action. So I've got Areola lining up as my goalkeeper, then a back 3 of Trippier, Tsimikas, and Tyrick Mitchell. A midfield 5 of Mo Salah with the vice captaincy on Saka and Bremo. Then it's my 2 transfers in, Hwang for Wolves and Sterling for Chelsea.
Sterling's had a transfer in the week, is he?
Another one. And then up front, Watkins and Haaland with my captain's armbands against Tottenham. Dalot as first sub because there's no chance in my mind that Man U keep a clean sheet against Newcastle. I think Newcastle punish the shit out of them. So yeah, Dalot as my first sub, then Archer, then Taylor. So I've got a very strong bench, not enough for a bench boost because Turner won't be playing. If he was, I would be considering it.
I mean, look at you, lucky you, with all these fit players that are ready and available. Fucking show off.
And an overall rank of about, I think it's just over 8,000 in the world right now. So yeah, 8,050 in the world right now. So FPL is going pretty well, feeling pretty good. I'm not taking a lot of points hits. Also, some news from Ben Crellin as well. If you don't know who Ben Crellin is, he basically figures out all of the fixtures and all of when the double game weeks are going to be in FPL. So he says that he thinks game week 20 is likely to become a double game week due to Man City versus Brentford moving. So it looks like in game week 20, you're probably going to have a nice double game week where City have
Sheffield United at home.
So blank going. So Sheffield United and Brentford both at home.
That's a Haaland triple captaincy, isn't it?
That is a very much a Haaland triple captaincy. There is a possibility, though. It depends on how the League Cup goes. If Liverpool beat West Ham, then it turns out that Liverpool have Sheffield United and Burnley both at home for a double game week as well.
Yeah, but the problem is you're not going to beat West Ham.
We can disagree on that. So it's whether you want to risk holding or not. I like using the triple captain around 20 anyway. I did last year on Rashford. It worked well. So I will probably be using it then. But worth keeping in mind that is a really, really exciting triple captain Haaland opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. As always with these things, though, these things can change at the drop of a hat. Premier League like to just make things up as they go along. So we'll see.
And there's also the worry of the triple captainship. I used mine on... I think there was that Mane, Salah, Firmino season where I used it on Mane, then he got injured after 5 minutes of the first game. I then used it on Sane, who went off at time in the first game with no returns, didn't play the second. So I've had my fair share of triple captain woes.
It's classic, isn't it? It's always the way. But, I mean, it's just part of the fun of FPL, isn't it?
Oh, the wonderful fun. But... really looking forward to the next game week. We're going to do another podcast either Sunday night or Monday morning, get it out straight away because after the next week, we have midweek games. So we've got the next round of fixtures start after this coming one starting on December the 5th. Very exciting, loads of football over the next few weeks. We're going to be here giving our nonsense opinions all of the way. So come and chat to us on Twitter. You can find us at Big at the Back.
Yep, I'm at Higgins92. Tom is at Tom Madden 92. I wonder if we'll ever start calling it X.
No,
I don't think so.
What do we X twits out like that? I don't know how to do that. Like,
no, you post on X, don't you? You post on X. You don't.
Poster and Xing our opinions. Sounds way too much like texting. I'm not a fan. It's going to be Twitter forever. So. You can find us on X Twitter at the Back. Come and get involved in the conversation. Obviously, it's so much football coming up, so strap in, guys, and get ready. It's going to be carnage, and we can't wait. See you all soon.
Bye.